All right. Welcome to another episode of Oak and Rock Fatherhood. I'm Anthony McLarino. This is Zach Small. And today we're going to talk to you about the drawbacks of peaceful parenting. Got a lot of ideas, a lot of topics we want to discuss. And Zach, what's your ideas on this?
Yeah, man, it's interesting because we talk a lot about the benefits of peaceful parenting, why we believe other fathers should do it, the perks and the experiences we've had. But that's not to, we have to look at this objectively. We can't go sunshine and rainbows, life is glorious, everything's going to be perfect. There are some drawbacks. Now, there are also drawbacks to going to the gym. You're going to improve, but there are some drawbacks along the way. Higher risk of injury. If you don't work out, you can't get hurt doing squats or deadlift. That's truth. But if you're looking at the big picture, you're also not going to get stronger. So in this episode, we're going to dive a lot into the things that aren't discussed by people who are talking about wanting others to parent peacefully, but also things you can expect to maybe stay ahead of, or at least be aware of once you start down this path if you're new to it.
All right. So one of the main things with making the transition into peaceful parenting, like you said, Zach, there's work to do. We have to change the way we parented. But there's also parents need to find new outlets on how to release their emotional buildup. We want to focus with peaceful parenting. You want to focus on yourself more, right? The kids' behaviors become secondary. So when when we can understand the dynamic that's going on, right? When we're trying to discipline our kids, we need to look at ourselves. We need to say, hey, am I acting like a responsible adult? Am I behaving in a way that a man would, right? Or am I acting immature? Am I acting like a child? Or am I letting my emotions get the best of me? Am I yelling? Am I screaming? Am I showing my kid body language that conveys rage and anger and frustration? So this is a drawback because that's what we're used to doing. This is how we were probably raised, and that's what we show our kids. So the flip side of that is we have to really focus more on ourselves, and we have to get more creative. We have to find better ways to handle problems. One thing that I suggest that has worked amazingly in my home is to have a strategy, to have an actual parenting strategy based on principles, based on question, like asking yourself what kind of questions. The question, what kind of father do I want to be? When things do get tough, how am I going to respond? When my child has a problem, how are we going to handle this specific problem? And I think it's great to have a plan, to have some kind of playbook, something that will guide you in that direction that you can fall back on. So you're not continually making the same mistakes and being driven by these negative emotions. Maybe that's something we'll work on in the future, bring it to the table, a playbook, parenting playbook. Who knows?
I like it. No, that's interesting, because I think it's also a conditioned behavior. I think you condition yourself like, man, work is stressful. Work is stressful. When I go home, I'm going to release it. Nope. I don't believe any father is going to say, I use my kids as stress relief. But when you look at actions, a lot of the times these people you can't go and, yell at your boss. You can't go and just yell at hit the random stranger on the street. You can't do these things. There are rules in place for a reason to keep society functioning at an appropriate level. So what do? All that anger, all that rage, all those times you bit your tongue at work, it comes out when you're in a place where you believe you have authority and control over others. And you're exerting that. And that's where men go to this domineering mode. If you're in the police, if you're in the military, there are top executives. There are very high stress environments where you have to constantly maintain your composure when all you want to do is lash out. When you're seeing the worst of the world or you're constantly being badgered of more, you tell them, hey, we hit a great number this quarter. All right, 30% more. You're like, I don't know how I'm going to, they just dump more on you and more on you. If you don't have a strategy, like Anthony was saying, on how you detox yourself, you're going to bring that home consciously or subconsciously. And it's going to find its outlet into those you believe have to take it from you. You've got to take it from them, and now they've got to take it from you. And you don't want that to be, your conditioned behavior that you're operating under. So as Anthony was saying, one of the things I do, for some literal advice right now is I constantly, I ask myself the question, does this really matter? If they're going to stay up 15 minutes late to finish a movie, does it really matter if I put them to bed now? And I'll go through it. Sometimes it is a yes. Now this does matter. Like this is a hard boundary here. Like we've got to fix this because, tomorrow will be horrible or something negative will happen that I don't want to happen. But in that moment, I ask, what's making me feel this right now? Why am I mad that they did this or did that? And I reflect a lot on it. It's a lot to do with me and my day. I'm mad about a deadline I've got to hit or a project that's coming down the pipeline my way. I'm thinking about that in the background. They happen to be in front of me and they spilled their drink. It's not the drink that's bothering me at all. Mistakes happen. They were looking the other way. They hit their glass. I spill things all the time. But if your emotions aren't in check, if you can't compartmentalize work and stress from home, they're going to bleed into each other. And that is serious, recipe for disaster.
You have to have emotional control, emotional stability in yourself, or your kids will never display it. It doesn't work the other way, right? We can't lash out at every little minor setback or mistake and expect our kids to have some sort of insider knowledge on how to emotionally regulate themselves. It just doesn't work that way.
So another drawback that we had, and this one is hard, and just like we said, if you don't go to the gym, you're not sore from the gym. But guess what? Going to the gym is good for you. And that soreness is a good thing. This next one, as a parent, you have to face your childhood traumas. And that's a hard thing to do, but it's necessary and it's good for you. So if you're lashing out on your kids, or if you have that overbearing, control over your family, and you're trying to get to peaceful parenting, but you don't understand why you keep reverting back, you haven't healed from some things you faced. You haven't had the discussion maybe with your father. You haven't spoken to and forgiven your mother. Whatever the situation is for you, something happened to you as a kid, and you're trying to overcome that or overcompensate for it by really preparing your kids for the world because you were taken advantage of and you don't want that to happen to them. But it's coming across to where you're almost forcing them out of a loving connection with you. Your desire to save them is going to kill them. It's going to, not literally, but it's going to kill that relationship with them. And you so desperately want them to be happy and not feel the pain you felt. But in doing so and being so hard on them to prepare them for the hardships of the world, you never built a loving connection with them. So the hard thing you have to do as a parent to go to peaceful parenting is to find out how you bring peace within. When you could feel that peace and get over that pain that you felt as a kid, then you can truly be peaceful with those around you. And your loved ones, unfortunately, they're not going to find peace until you do. So it starts with you.
Yeah, 100%. The unhealed wounds, the ghost of the past, will definitely come back to haunt you. And as an adult, you have to face those pains, right? This is something we have to overcome. I hear this a lot. To add to this subject, a lot of people grow up in a home and they're told that they're a bad kid, right? The terrible twos, the teenage years are frustrating, and it's really all just deception, right? It's just an illusion that we tell ourselves, because then when it happens to us as parents, we don't have to say, hey, I need to parent better. We say, oh, it's the kid's fault. So it's not taking ownership of that parental responsibility. And we need to be aware of it. We need to stop acting like it's the child or your children's responsibility to fulfill your needs or behave a certain way. It's our job to guide them. And I think that's a great point, right? You have to face your fears. You have to face your past. You have to grow. So another drawback, one thing that drives me crazy a little bit, right? This is, once you start to parent your kids peacefully, the whole dynamic of your relationship, the family environment, everything changes, because you're more solution-based, problem solving. There will be conflicts, but they don't destroy everybody's soul, right? We keep it together and we move forward. So one of the drawbacks of that is when you go out into the world, you're going to see other parents treating their kids like shit, literally screaming and yelling, using threats to get them to do what they want. Sometimes using violence, giving them a smack, and just using demeaning behaviors towards their kids. So it's, for me, when I go out now, there was a moment when I used to say something and I used to speak up, and I think I might be getting to that point again. But I would see a mother or even a father, and they'd smack their kid, they tell him shut up, and I'd be like, hey man, take it easy. He's just a little kid, right? He doesn't know. Relax. I would leave it at that, and you would get the stare of death, right? No matter who it was from. But like I said, I think it's important that we acknowledge it and we understand that. And I'm not advocating for dads to go out and start fights with other parents about hitting their kids or mistreating their kids. But I think sometimes we do need to be the bigger person, right? Maybe we should speak up. Maybe we should say something, come to the defense of a child, even if it's not our child.
You know, I've had a hard time with this. Like so let's split it in half. First, the awareness, and second, the action. So let's start with the awareness. For sure, it's a net negative, man. We did a video together where I couldn't come up with a reason I would yell at my kids, and that's not for the fucking cameraman. That is literally, we don't do that. Why would I yell at my kids? They're also their kids. They're growing up. We have a lot of conversations when conflict comes up, but it's not. There's no need to yell. Like, I don't get that. I would never lay my hands on them. I don't see why you would ever do that to someone you love, especially someone who's so small and looking to you for protection and guidance and trust. So when you see that in other ones, you cringe. It's like a combination of like, you cringe, like, oh, that's ugly, that you're disgusted. Then there's that chill of like anger. Oh, you want to hit him? I'm going to hit you. You know, is that how I want to play? And then you're like, you can't go around throwing down, which leads to the second half of this. And I'm interested because I've like, in a roundabout way, hey guys, come play with me. Because if I see the dad yelling, hey, come over here. We're going to go do our thing. Obviously that dad can't handle it. Hey, little kid, you know, getting smacked around, come with me. I'm going to give you a safe harbor. Let's build some connection. I'm going to build you up. And you kind of instill that confidence in them. I've never directly confronted a parent though on spanking or yelling or hitting. You've done that. And so where do you see the line being drawn? Because when you're in a culture where this is accepted, it's frequent. So what are you going to do? Which kid do you pick to save if you see 5 getting smacked around throughout the week? And then are you going to throw down with the dad? You know, it sounds great to step up, like, hey, I'm going to step in, but I see like what's going on, and these dads, man, they're angry. Yeah. So when they're angry at the kid, and you're like, hey, stop hitting him. Is he going to hit the kid more later for making him look bad, or is he going to, or him and I going to go to blows with? Okay, so be it. But your charge is your rap sheet is going to get pretty long if you're trying to save all these kids. So how do you draw the line, or where do you see the best way to go about that?
So when I'm in that situation, when I have been, I'm always looking to de-escalate the situation, right? I don't want to make things worse. I don't want to make the dad feel bad or the mother feel bad. Like I said, it's just a pretty direct, you know, hey, stop doing that, or hey, take it easy. I don't want to cause a confrontation or a fight. I know better than that. Me fighting with that father, physically fighting, is not going to solve any problems, right? It's only going to make matters worse. I think that the greatest way to combat that is a little communication, right? Some honest conversation about, hey, you know, what are you doing? He's a little kid. Let's calm down. You know, there's better ways to go about it. Almost talk to them like a child, right? Like you would to your children, because that's what they're displaying, right? The parent is being emotionally reactive. So you have to bring it down a lower level, right? You don't want to meet them at that level. I do remember one time I used to coach my son's soccer when he was little. He was like 5 or 6. And I was a coach, and we had one of the kids on another team kept body checking the kids on our team, and he was hurting kids. It was causing a problem. The coaches weren't doing anything. And I had a father of the kid who got hip checked and got knocked down run up and grab the other kid and like drag them off the field. Yeah. And I just ran up. I was like, yo, listen, brother, you can't do that. As much as you're upset right now, you need to let go of that kid right now. And not because like his dad's going to come and kick your ass, but this is not how we're doing things. The good thing is, and what was great about the league is one of the guys stepped in, one of the referees. They got the official over, and he was like, listen, man, you can't come here. You can't come to any more games. You broke a rule. You broke a guideline. But I think in that moment, I had to step up, right? I had to go over and just talk to that dad and say, yo, let go of that kid. He's not yours. So, you know, sometimes I would say don't be afraid to do it, but be real aware, have some awareness of what you're saying and how you're responding.
No, that's an excellent answer. You know, honestly, you laugh, but as I'm going through it, does this not go back to being an actually strong father and not presenting yourself as a strong father?
Yeah.
If you can stand up to another man, if you can stand up, It's not about, well, I command my wife and children. Well, dude, if you're only tough and you're only overpowering people who are in your home living with you, you're not a tough guy. You're weak. If you can stand toe to toe with another father who's bringing, stepping up and grabbing another kid, hell no. There's probably a written rule, but that's like the ultimate unwritten rule in sports. You don't touch another kid, no matter what's happening in that game.
No.
And I coach football, man. This is my first year coach. I'm actually, one of the kids got me this mug. So every time I take a sip, I got that smile going. But dude, it's a violent sport and these kids are hitting hard. The parents know I've got this. I've got their kids' safety in mind. I've made them a priority. So it's one of those things where when you are coming across and given the presence of a strong father figure to all these kids on this team, the parents trust you. So they're not going to go and I think take the actions that otherwise they would take. If you're a meek individual and they don't respect you at all, then I think they would overstep, their bounds, I guess. So your life is much easier if you are an actually strong individual. If you are going to the gym, if you are going, you have a strong connection with your family, you present yourself as a put together man, you're not disheveled constantly or showing up bloodshot eyes. You're not going to just be the father. This is not peaceful parenting of just your home. Your community will look to you to step into that role of like, hey, lead this. In this moment, you're leading all of them. So it just goes to show weak men are a liability. Strong men make great fathers because they have that presence to protect those who need it. We can step up because you're not afraid. If you've never lifted a weight or you've never thrown a punch or if you're just insecure, you can't even speak confidently, man, those kids will eat you alive. No one's going to respect you. It's just a bad recipe.
I would say one life lesson to share on this. If you're going to have a conversation with another man and he needs to resort to violence from a conversation, you probably have nothing to worry about, honestly. Right? If he comes at you, it's probably not going to be too harsh because he can't even hold a conversation that he disagrees with for a few minutes. So don't be too worried.
All right. Hey, that does bring up the next negative of peaceful parenting. And that's the fact that you have to do some actual work in order to be a good, peaceful parent. Like you're saying, that dad who lashes out, he can't even have a conversation. If you're going to be a peaceful parent, you've got to know why you are who you are, why you're doing the things you do, because you have to communicate with your children on a much more difficult level than surface level emotional outburst. It's easy to yell at your kid. You see these parents who tease their kids. Oh, you got a boyfriend, a girlfriend. That's easy. You know what's more difficult? Sitting down and talking to your child once they're at the age of getting interested in boys or girls. Instead of teasing them about it, like, hey, no, here's what you can expect. Here's how these things work in relationships and things like that. Here's how your mom and I interact and why we are the way we are. Actually breaking down the world and life for your kids is much more difficult than making fun of them or just hitting them and say, go figure it out. So that there is a negative in the sense that you've got to learn how to have conversations. You've got to learn to talk to them about money, religion, death, sex, drugs. You've got to talk to them about all of that, which means you've got to have a foundation, again, back to confidence, where you can speak to them, or even when you don't know the answer and you're trying to figure it out. One of the ones from a personal example is religion. I'm kind of finding my way with faith and things, and my kids are asking questions, why don't we go to church? Or why do you look at that church and not this church? And I've got to be like, I don't really know yet, but here's what I'm going through. Here's my journey. And here's what I think, and I explained to them, like, there's a lot of paths here and you guys will choose your own, but here's kind of where I'm at. And here's how I got here. But, I don't have an answer for you. And that's also kind of swallowing the pride of like, I'm the dad, I know everything. No, I'm an adult man. And if I let them see that as an adult, you don't have to have literally everything figured out. When they become an adult, they're not going to have a complex about, oh, I'm a shitty person. My dad had everything figured out, but I don't. No, you're setting up an unrealistic expectation for them that's going to create complexes down the road. Don't paint a perfect picture. Let them see the flaws. Let them see the journey, but also be willing to talk to them about the things that everybody sweeps under the rug.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to put expectations on them and think that they have to always achieve to get acceptance. Right. We want to set the bar high, but they need to see that you're honest and you're truthful about your approach and how you go about life. And I think, Zach, man, the having difficult conversations is the game changer, right? Having the strength to actually step up to the plate and have those talks with your kids, it's life-changing. You might not always hear what you want to hear, but that doesn't matter, right? At least you're there for your kids, and they know they have an outlet, and that's how you build trust. That's how you build a connection with your children. So another drawback of peaceful parenting, which it's amusing because there really are no drawbacks. We're kind of putting a spin on it. And, this is something I think about is one aspect or one part of peaceful parenting is we want to raise our kids to be their own autonomous individual. We want to, when they're dependent on us, we want them to fully pour into all we have, right? Be the best father we can. Teach them the ways of life, right? The hardships, the struggles, the love, the joy. We want to have a balance. What this does is it teaches your kids to be independent. As they get older, they no longer need their father. They no longer need to be attached to the mother. They have the tools, so they can go out and be independent. But the downside to this is you'll have kids who might not want to spend as much time with you. Not because they don't like you, but because they're out doing things. They're out conquering the world. They're out being a part of society and really just going and getting shit done. So you might find yourself a little lonely, right? You don't have your children around anymore. But that's the beauty of it, right? That's what we're doing. We're building strong families. We're passing down our legacy. And I'm almost at that stage where my kids are ready to leave, some of them. And I have to kind of put a spin on it and not see it as a negative. I need to see it as, you know what, maybe my daughters, they'll go and get married next, and then I'll have grandchildren, and then I'll have some other impressionable minds that I can influence. So it'll be a cool journey.
This is one of the things I'm really glad about us choosing to do Oak and Rock is these conversations are sort of like, you don't want to have them. Like, I don't want to talk about the fact that if I do my job right, I work myself out of a job. But that's sort of the whole point of this. The best fathers are the ones who have kids who can go to the world and don't need their father. Like, my dad gave me great lessons. My dad always supported me. My dad built me to go and, like you were saying, go on these adventures, go slay these dragons. And he's always there for me. But at some point, they're like, no, I can do this on my own. You raised me to have my legs strong enough to go walk this path. And it's like, man, but I want to walk with you. I enjoy my kids. You enjoy your kids. In the last video, we were talking about, you and your lady going on date night, and the kid's like, hey, where are we going? I was talking about, I have a hard time putting him to bed because I'm like, we could just hang out, let's just all sit and read books all night long. Nobody's going to go anywhere. We can all hang out together. But at some point, and mine are a little bit younger than yours, but I'm seeing it now with their friends, that independence comes in and they want to go out. They want to do the things you did because that's how you became Anthony. You had to go out and you had to make it on your own. You built your tribe. And your kids will go out and they'll do the same. So it's unfortunate. It's amazing, but it's also like, yeah, dude, it's like, man, you want them, like mine are 12 and 9. So even just having this conversation, like, oh man, there's so many things I want to teach them. So many things I want to show them. So many more conversations to have. So I know when they go to the world, they know they'll always have a place to come back to. But I also understand their ships have to go out to sea. They have to go and do their thing. And I'll have that harbor for them to come back to. They can repair their ships here. They can swap things out. They can get some updates. But eventually, they have to go out to sea. They have to go, and they've got to test their strength against the seas and the storms and life at large. And I have to be okay with that. And like you said, I have to shift the perspective. They're going out to do the things we've talked about. Be a good person. Chase their goals. Live out their dreams. Not let anybody take advantage of them. Be authentic individuals in a world that is looking for conformity. It's necessary. That doesn't mean I don't get to complain about it. Like when they go, I'm going to bitch, but you know what? I'm going to be bitching with a smile on my face. I'm super proud, but like, damn it. And then Jackie and I will have to go on, adventures. Like for right now, we're soaking it in. And this goes back to all fathers. The terrible twos, they're teens. Don't wish those years away. Like every single day, I'm very cognizant of the fact that I'm not going to get today back. I've got this one day with them on this day. I've got to give them everything because eventually I'm going to wake up and I'm not going to see them through an entire day and I'm going to go to bed. That's going to suck. I've not had that for 12 years in a row. Whether I'm on FaceTime or messaging, like at some point they're going to be doing their thing. And as dads, we've got to just work with it. And it's a drawback because those kids, They want to go out and chase things. You're going to light that fire in them. They're going to have that independent just fire to them. So maybe that is the first real drawback. You have kids that aren't relying on you forever that just stay around.
That might be. You put a little bit of a dark spin on it. No, but it's, you know, I think about a story that you shared a while ago. Actually, a video when you were teaching your kids how to ride their bikes. I don't remember if it was I think it was your son, might have been your daughter. But you know, that's you put in the work, right? You teach them, you show them, you're holding the handlebars, you're holding the seat, you're getting the reps in over and over and over. And then at an instant, you have to let go and you see them go down the road and you're like, holy shit, you know, you don't know what to do. You're like, should I go and run in front of them or should I just let them go? It's a similar feeling, right? We to a degree, we have to just let them take off. We have to let them go explore the world. But at the same time, to relieve that anxiety, right? I think we'll have a fear of them not being able to do it if we weren't living to our fullest when we parented them, right? If we weren't learning to become a better dad, if we weren't talking to other fathers, if we weren't listening to podcasts on how to be a better father, reading books, how to be a better father, if we weren't really doing our best, then we will be controlled by some fear to let them go out because we know deep down they might not be ready.
It's got heavy at the end, man. Damn.
Yeah.
Peaceful parenting is the way to go. But there are, like we said, you know, there are some parts to this that even when you do the right thing, you're going to face hardship from it. It's a good thing. It's a part of growth. It's a part of evolving as a person. You know, it's not that you do it once and it's over, but when you do it the first time, it gets easier because you're just more comfortable facing hard things. So it's not that the challenge in front of you is any easier. It's the mindset towards that challenge. So when you talk about, you know, healing from your past, finding new ways to connect, all the things we mentioned, when you do it once, you're like, all right, I can do this again. And we saw it just recently inside FOE. One of the men, you know, his kid's like, hey, I want to play. He's like, no, I don't want to play any games. I'm going to go do some work because he's trying to really build his empire. He's trying to build that side hustle. But he's like, you know what? I've defaulted to saying no. He's like, no, I'll sit and I'll play with you and then I'll go do the work. And he said his kid, you know, just lit up and had a great time together. Now the next time it's going to be easier for him to think, all right, do I really have time? Yeah, I've got a few minutes. I'll give him that and then I'll go. So it becomes a new habit, a new routine of being a better and more involved individual. You know, and that's the point of all this. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, but not everybody's peaceful parenting because it's not the easier path. There are hardships. There are some mental things you've got to get over, but it's worth it. And I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. And I think as fathers, as a goal to be a better father, we have to always push to do the hard things, to push what's difficult and what's going to make us better. That does not stop with our parenting. And a lot of men, you know, you see peaceful parenting and you think that it's being submissive or it's allowing your kids to do whatever you want, but it's the exact opposite, right? It's based on principles. It's based on being a good man, being a strong man, and guiding and being a good leader ultimately, right? Guiding your children to a better place without creating a childhood that they're going to have to heal from in order to raise their kids, right? It's preventative. It's good. That's all I can say about it.
Oh, that's very well said. All right. Save your kids a childhood from a childhood they don't have to heal from. That's the goal, man.
Oh, yeah.
Give them something to look back on and be like, man, I loved my dad. I loved growing up. I want to do like that with my kids. I want to do even better than my dad. He did great. That's the goal. That's the aim we're going. All right, Anthony, for anybody that wants to connect with you one-on-one, talk to you about some issues they're having, what's the best way for them to reach you?
I can be reached at peacefulfathers.com. I offer online coaching, online peaceful parenting coaching. So if you have any issues with your kids, if there's things you want to learn, just want to get advice, just want to talk about it, you can reach me anytime, peacefulfathers.com. And all social media is Peaceful Fathers.
All right. If you check the links below, you'll find access to the two of us. If you want your specific situation addressed, drop your comments, drop your questions. We'll dive right into it. I'm Zach Small from the Family Alpha and Fraternity of Excellence. This is another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood. You guys take care.